Yesterday, I was falsely accused of being transphobic by someone who has not made themselves known, but who has connections to the music scene in my humble province of Ontario, Canada. The magnitude of this incident is that my band Fainting may no longer be able to perform in a relevant music scene, due entirely to hearsay and these erroneous rumors spread by an unknown gatekeeper. Before we get into that, I just want to ask everybody to leave a comment or subscribe if you like my content. Every single one of you makes a difference in my life, and I will not be able to fight the culture war without you. So let's get into it. Days ago, my band Fainting was removed entirely from 2 local concerts in the region of southwestern Ontario, with no explanation as to why. In the days to come, I attempted to make contact with the promoter, but the line had gone cold. They were ghosting me. It wasn't until yesterday when another band member of mine inquired with the promoter, less than a week before we were supposed to perform, that I found out what truly happened. To reiterate, a group of unknown individuals are attempting to turn me into a social pariah in the eyes of the Ontario music scene, making false accusations behind my back where I have no ability to speak on my own behalf. I have been falsely labeled a transphobe in a blatant attempt at unfounded character assassination. Generally, a false accusation is something I'm able to shake off, something I'm able to move past rather quickly. But this resulting inner hellfire, which anyone who has been the victim of silent character assassination understands, burns brightly in my thoughts. What has happened to the independent music scene in Ontario to allow for such abject accusations? What is it inside people that forces them to respond so unthinkingly to the dog whistles emitted by inhumane authoritarian slacktivists? Why are people in the music scene so quick to jump onto bandwagons of hatred and excommunication without even but a conversation with the accused to check their facts? It seems in 2019, all parties are innocent until proven guilty is no longer an acceptable axiom in the eyes of the Ontario music scene. It seems that at any moment, any one of us musicians can be excommunicated by an ominous gatekeeper, one who is potentially obsessed with improving their own moral standing by participating in call-out culture, virtue signaling, and imposing their personal opinions, no matter how idiosyncratic, onto everyone who they come into contact with. These people have no regard for human emotion. They want you to believe what they believe or to disappear. They do not care about the mental health of the accused or the impact of the chain reaction which will inevitably ensue if one makes efforts to defend themselves to the mob. There is not a shred of acceptable evidence in my eyes to speak to the fact that I am transphobic. Insofar as my role, my dress, and my expression are concerned, I live a fairly gender non-conforming lifestyle. In other words, I am hip to the leftist jive. But with me, there's one key difference. I believe people should have self-determination. What others do with their own life does not concern me, provided it's not hurting anyone else. So why do I involve myself at all? I think that unfounded call-out culture is definitely hurting people in ways which are deeply psychological. Friends are leaving people's sides. Musicians are being banned from expressing their most intimate emotions. Future career prospects are being lost. Mental illness is at crisis high levels, and people are sicking packs of rabid groupthink dogs with foaming mouths and jagged teeth on people who do not necessarily deserve it. I feel it is my responsibility as a human being to intervene. For my entire life, my growth as a human being has run parallel to my growth as an artist and a musician. But in December 2017, I experienced the unexpected loss of a very close friend, and the only way I knew how to cope was my deceased friend is the reason I started this band, which I call Fainting. It since has become my primary outlet for difficult experiences and emotions, and I put every inch of my heart into writing and performing the songs. Not because I want to be in a big famous band or anything, but because it helps. It helps me cope with life's inevitable suffering, which we all experience. The only reason I even try to play live from time to time is to test the validity of my hope in that the feelings evoked by my songs could be shared by audience members, and that we could all come to understand each other a little bit better. through becoming vulnerable to suffering. But no one ever messaged me to find any of that out. No one even went so far as to inquire as to my thoughts about the accusations. Last year, our band experienced a similar surge of threatened exclusion and ostracization when we agreed to play a house show for an unconditional long-term friend in London, Ontario. He'd been dealing with social ostracization for some of his political views, but more importantly, he'd been fighting life-threatening cancer for the years leading up to this show that he was trying to book. And our mere association with him, our rationale that we should play what could be a possible final send-off show in the basement of our dying friend, where so many years of seminal musical memories were made, was unacceptable to the London music scene. Well, guess what? He passed away, and we never did play that show. We pussied out, and when the show happened, he was in too critical of a condition to have even been able to host it, so it was cancelled. The Ontario music scene, on the whole, is one which puts politics and groupthink before humanity and individuals. One which would first silence and ostracize, then have a meaningful conversation in the name of truth. I have been left out in the dust like the carcass of a highway-side deer, struck by the proverbial bus of call-out culture. I have been falsely accused of being a transphobe, and I am becoming ostensibly blacklisted from the Ontario music scene. I will not take this sitting down. For Kilometer Media, I'm Mitch Langdon.